Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I am Jeff Blankenberg. I'm here. Obviously, you're on my channel. Or maybe you're joining me on the Alexa channel, which is also awesome. Happy to have you. But I am here today working on a Star Wars databank. It's something we've been working on for a few weeks. We've made some good progress, and I have some new things that I want to add to it today. But before that, it's been kind of a fun time around my house, and I've got a few things I'd like to share with you. So the first is, let me see if I can bring up this video that I just had here a second ago. I did a thing on, I guess last night. It was before it got dark, and I'm going to flip over to everything here and see if I can show you the video. There we go. So this is a video of me in my driveway last night, and my son and I were outside trying out a science experiment. The basic premise of it is that you can take a bottle of Coca-Cola and you pour a little bit out, usually right below the label, wherever the label is on the bottle. 2 liters I think are too big, but like a 20 ounce or a 16 ounce bottle works really well. And then you get a can of butane, just the simple butane fuel that you would use inside a lighter or something like that. And you spray it into the top of the Coke bottle where it sits inside the bottle. Then all you have to do is pick up the bottle and tip it over, and it becomes a rocket, like just launches. And so I can show you a video we made last night. So here we go. I think. Maybe. I don't think I wanted to do that. I wanted to show the whole video. Full screen. Here we go. This is me last night.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Anyway, that was the fun little video. If you're looking to have some fun with some Coke and some butane, it doesn't make an explosion or anything. It's pretty safe. All it's doing is quickly using all of the carbonation from the butane to shoot all of that air out the bottom, which quickly releases all the liquid out of the bottle and uses that as propulsion. So super cool and fun. We had some fun with that last night. But I have other stuff, so let's flip back to the camera because I got one of these in the mail yesterday. You may not know what one of these is, but it looks like that. The buttons may look familiar to you, but this is called the Echo Flex. And if I could get closer to the camera, maybe the lights wouldn't wash it out. There we go. That's what it looks like on the front. You can see that there's a USB port on the bottom. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the cool thing about it is it just plugs into the wall. So this is obviously a US plug, but each of the different versions of it for different locales can obviously have their own plugs on the back. But the Echo Flex, the idea behind this one, it's super affordable. I think it's like $25, maybe $29. I don't remember the exact price, but it's under $30 for sure. And I've slowly noticed as I've been getting new devices, as you can see, I have a whole lab of them here behind me. What I've noticed about devices is that they become easier and easier to set up. So there was a time where I had to connect to the Wi-Fi network that one of these devices would create, and then I had to give it the Wi-Fi. I had to find a Wi-Fi network, and I had to enter the password. And for an amount of time, it's been saving. It's been asking me if I want to save the Wi-Fi password. And when you order a device from Amazon, they generally provision it to your account automatically. So it already knows who you are and what account you use, which means they already know probably what the Wi-Fi password is going to be. And they can look for the Wi-Fi passwords that are available, compare that to a list of Wi-Fi passwords that are currently recognized, the ones that are actually being seen by your device right now. And if it knows the password, then it'll automatically log you in. And so what was really nice about this is that I literally just plugged it into the wall, and a few seconds later it goes, all right, your device is ready. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to tell it who I was or give it my email address or password or check Wi-Fi or do any of that kind of stuff. So that was a nice surprise, and I'm sure that happens on other devices now too. But this was the first time where I was ever just able to plug a device into the wall and it worked. And I know this has been a steady progress of setup that they've been doing a fantastic job with. So I was really delighted by that. I've seen a bunch of reviews online, and I will agree with them. The speaker in this is not fantastic. If you're really listening to music because you want to hear the sound of the music, this will play music, of course, but it's not doing it at any high quality. The speaker in here is very small. It's generally meant for voice experiences, right? It's at least that's been my takeaway. This is not any official Amazon stance. But The Echo Flex, it allows you to at least talk to Alexa. You can plug it into any outlet, so you can add it to the hallway upstairs or wherever you may have one. But the intriguing thing to me was the USB port. You can charge your phone, right? You could plug it in near your bed and charge your phone and do things like that. But one of the things that I discovered is that there's actually two accessories available on Amazon right now. One is a night light, so it basically turns the light. There's a light attachment that snaps onto the bottom, and you can turn that light on and off. So it's a nice little hallway light, about the height, of your power outlets. And then the other one was a motion sensor, and I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I'm imagining that I can set up some kind of routine or something that when this motion sensor goes off, that maybe the device says, "Hello," or "You shouldn't be here," or whatever. But I'm assuming there's some trigger you can set up against that. But I haven't played with one of the motion sensors yet, so I'm not sure exactly how it works. But that's kind of my thought and expectation. Ice Cream says he's waiting for the Alexa smart oven. If I could pick my studio up and move it to my kitchen, you would see an Alexa smart oven. I actually had one delivered here last Wednesday, I think. And we decided, we have a microwave and we have an oven in our kitchen, but I really want to try this. I want to give it a shot and see about things like the air fryer and some of the other stuff that it claims to do well. And obviously all the voice command stuff is pretty awesome as well. So it's currently, we have a very large, I'll call it a laundry room, but it's kind of a mud room / laundry room. I mean, it's a big room. We had an addition put on the house 6 or 7 years ago, and it has a second full refrigerator. It has all the place for storage for shoes and coats and jackets, whatever, and then obviously all the laundry and a big sink and nice countertops and cabinets and all sorts of stuff. Very, very, very nice laundry room, nicer than most I've seen, and I haven't really had a chance to use it yet. I was able to set it up, and it connected to Wi-Fi very easily. It's got a big industrial plug off the back of it, and from the back of the square part of the device, there's still another 3 or 4 inches of innards. I don't know, there's this big round thing that kind of comes off the back of it, and so you can't push it flush up against the wall, and they recommend keeping it almost 3 inches away from anything. So it really sticks. I have it up on top of the countertop on top of my washer and dryer. And it takes up a lot of space. It's not mountable. You couldn't mount it over a stove, and in fact, they have instructions that say don't do that. But this is one of those things that I thought I would at least give a try and play with. And we've talked about getting an air fryer for a while, so I thought, well, this qualifies, so we'll give that a try. But it's also a convection oven, a regular oven, a microwave. We've warmed up some water with it already, but we haven't done anything fancy. But I've been looking at some recipes for air frying, excuse me, specifically, and I thought that would be a fun thing to try. So I will have updates on that. Maybe I'll have to shoot a video or something so that I can show it here. But I just haven't had that opportunity yet. So hopefully this week I'll get some time to play with it and share more. There's another thing I have that I don't have any demo or anything ready for, but I just wanted to, put these on and then take them off again. I don't, these are a pre-release set. I don't even have them set up with a phone or anything. I've only recently acquired the pair. I'm using them for, excuse me, I'm using them for a presentation that I'm giving in Las Vegas at reInvent at the first week of December. So I needed to get a pair and play with them or whatever. I'm hoping to get some of the other cool devices that have come out recently as well. I know I've talked about the Echo Studio, which I have in my family room, and it fills the whole house with sound. I also did some fun stuff on Friday where I have a lot of devices in my house, as you might imagine, but I didn't realize how many, and I also didn't realize how many rooms I still hadn't covered. And so I went through my house and just picked up some of the older devices that I had laying around and distributed them around to the rooms, and then I set up multi-room music using all of them. I have a group called Everything, or Everywhere, I'm sorry. And I did not include my office for obvious reasons, because if someone were to turn music on everywhere, well, my office would light up and there'd be 20 more devices playing. So I was able to rename all these devices. These all are prefixed with the name Lab now. So this is like the Lab Echo Show and the Lab Echo Plus and the Lab Echo and the Lab Echo Look and Dot and Tap and everything. So lots and lots of cool stuff there. But I'm scared to have all that audio playing in here. So anyway, I lit up the house. I literally had every speaker playing at pretty much full volume, and as you walked from room to room, man, it was just seamless. They were all synchronized. It was super cool. So if you haven't played with that multi-room music stuff, which I'm hoping a lot of you have, I was quite impressed. I'd had some things set up before, but I hadn't had the whole house playing. So I thought that was pretty awesome too. Ice Cream, I have no power or control over the glasses. I was very, very fortunate that they were even willing to loan me a pair. These are not keepers by any means. But I have them for the next couple of weeks, and I'll play with them. Although I haven't been specifically granted access to do any kind of live demos with them, which is why I only put them on. I want to be very careful because this is a pre-release device, and I don't want to leak anything. But I felt comfortable putting them on. So we'll continue to see progress with those, and I'm looking forward to playing with things like the Echo Loop and other devices while we're out there as well. So, okay, so I talked about the Echo Flex. I think that's it's interesting and cool. I always wish the speaker would be better, but not every device should be, the Echo Studio, right? The Echo Flex is simple and easy and very inexpensive, and I like inexpensive. I like accessible, easy to use devices, and so that certainly qualifies as that. All right, but why we're here today, why we're really paying attention to all of this stuff, is because we're working on a Star Wars database. And so that's really the reason that we're streaming. That's the reason we're all getting together here, I hope. Andrew Maxey, thank you for joining also. Is there a voice-controlled oven on the Carousel of Progress? I don't think I realized that. I guess I've been through that, certainly, but I didn't realize that they had a voice-controlled one. That's super awesome and very future-looking, because I think a lot of that stuff was built in the 60s and early 70s, so I love that. Okay, deep breaths. So we are the Futureland. He burns something and the smoke evacuates you. Wow, that's pretty awesome. I guess it's been a few years. I've probably been almost 4 years since I've been to Disney, so maybe it's time to look at that again. We're always struggling with figuring out where we're going to take our kids on vacation next. And while they were young, every 4 years we would go to Disney. So when my daughter was 4, her brother is 4 years younger, so we went when she was 8. We went when she was 12, and he was 8, and then we've kind of stopped. And she's about to turn 16, so it's about that time. But man, that is a lot of money, and we've looked at other cool places we might want to go. We've tossed around places like Hawaii. I think in 2021 we might go to London, and Scotland and Ireland and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to think about when you talk about going on vacation. Okay, so back to Star Wars. Let's talk about what this is, how it works, what we're doing, and the place to start is obviously with code. So let me jump over to everything here so we can see some code and see our comments and all that stuff. But so it's exactly where we left off last time, and just to give you some idea of where we were when we left off last time, let me start with the model, because I think that's a good way to kind of explain what we have. We have cancel, help, stop, and navigate, obviously. We have character intent, and we have droid and creature, and these go on vehicle, weapon, technology, thing, location, species, organization, and media. Those are all pretty much the same. You could just ask about a character or droid or whatever, and it sorts it into the appropriate intent based on the slot values. Media intent is a little different because this is tell me about episode 4 or stuff like that. And then we added a couple more, which are trailer intent and crawl intent. And these are the trailers or the Star Wars crawls that you see before the saga movies, the 1 through 8 so far, and 9 very soon. And so you can ask to see those crawl videos play or see the trailers play. There's one thing that I've left off so far, which is the ability to interact with the video, pause, rewind, replay, but also once the video stops, I need to be like, all right, I just finished playing that. What would you like to do next? Right? I need to prompt the user, and that's an APL thing that I haven't figured out yet. I just haven't spent the time. I don't think it's very hard. But hopefully very soon I will have a session here where we actually work on that. But that's not what we're going to work on today. I wanted to try and do something brand new and kind of change it up a little bit, and that would be to add a new intent that is a quiz of some kind. And I'm going to do it a couple of ways. I mean, I have a lot of experience building quiz-based skills. You've seen that with TKO Trivia, which, by the way, was submitted for certification. Has not passed yet, and it's been there almost a week, this is now the longest I've ever waited. But it also has 21 ISPs, and it's got all sorts of stuff going on, and it's a much more complicated skill than I've ever built too. So that's exciting, but it concerns me that I've been waiting a week, and I'll be interested to know when this thing will actually go live. So we'll see. But in doing that, I know the mechanisms basically for building a quiz game on Alexa. And so the first thing that I want to do is build a new intent that is like quiz me or whatever. And this, I'm not going to take this nearly as seriously as I have with TKO. There's not going to be there's not going to be points and all the other crazy nonsense. Right now, all I really want to do is just build the game engine. And so I'm going to create a new intent, which we will call quiz intent, for lack of a better term. And for my slots, I don't actually know what those are going to be yet, but it's probably media. And so the way I'm thinking about this is I would let you say, quiz me about episode 5. And then I would go find things for you from episode 5. And I would quiz you about them. Or I could say, quiz me about the Clone Wars, right? And then it would grab only data that came from that specific show. And my thought is that I would just I'd make up like 5 questions. And how we do that and how we pull all that stuff together, that's what we're going to build today. But the first thing that I need to do is give us a quiz intent so we can start this stuff off. So I have to have some samples. We'll keep it simple for now, and we can always modify this list later. But if I say something like, quiz me about whatever. Now you can say any of the name of any of the media that we support in this game. But we could also say quiz me, right? And I don't really care. You're just going to pick something random at this point. I don't think I want to take this any further. I guess I could do the types. So like quiz me about characters or quiz me about droids. That might be okay. I don't think I have that as a slot value right now, though. So I would have to create that. I don't think I do. If I come up to the top here. Character. No, I have all the individual types, but I don't have the individual names of those types. That probably would be a useful thing to have, I would think. So let's do that. So we're going to have one slot called this. And then we'll have another one that is called type. And we'll have to create a new slot for that, which is fine. And then I can say, quiz me about type. And so, like I said, I have to create this data, but that shouldn't be too hard. And then down here we have our types. So interesting. That isn't listed as like This is not what I thought this would look like, actually. These should be broken into types, and they don't seem to be. Look what's happening right here. Oh, I see. They're putting the name of the group at the end. That's a weird format. Alright, so if I come back up to the beginning of my characters, and I go down to the end of the characters, is there a grouping? Yeah, characters right there. Alright, interesting. Cool, so I'll create this here right at the top. This is pretty easy to do. I didn't realize they would format it that way for me. I used to have this very hand formatted, and once I uploaded it, it changed it around a little bit for me. So values, I have an array, and we just want to put a new... Man. Types. So I want a new type. This is where I want to put it. And I put a comma there, and that should make everybody happy a little bit. And then in here, I need a values array, like so. And then I probably need whatever that other piece was. So I have values, and then down here it was name, I'm pretty sure. And so for the name stuff, that lives outside that array, obviously, but we need a comma. So I'll just take this as an example, come back up to the top here, and right here, we should be able to do comma, enter name character, and we actually want this to be type with a capital T. And then we need some values, and each individual value looks like this. And we'll drop one of those in here just so everything's cleaned up. And it lost my curly brace. All of this. And what am I doing wrong? I'm missing another curly brace somehow. How's that look? Does that look better? All right, cool. It seems to be happy with that. So I obviously don't want this to be that, and I don't have IDs for this. How do we want to do this? How do we want to... Well, the first thing needs to be, like, this needs to be character, right? This is going to be... And I'll probably have a synonym that's plural. Quiz me about character, or a character, or whatever. So we'll take another one of these. Like I said before, we'll expand out these samples later. Right now I'm just trying to get this to work. Ask me about a character. And then we need one of these for each. So this ID does not currently have a value. And I don't really know what that value would be except the... I don't think I even need it because of the way that I get data. I'll just put the name in there again, characters, just so I have the like the official name of the table, I guess. I don't really need a value there, but it never hurts to keep it. Comma. This will be droid. I'm going to forget some of these in a moment, but droid. Droid. Droids. Other stuff that I would need to do once I have these, like, again, I'm just trying to set up the rigging, so this is enough for now, because I'll just ask for character or droid, and it should work. I can also ask about a movie, which is great. So let's save that and upload it, and see if we broke anything. So we're pushing our model up. This introduces a new intent. This introduces a new slot value. So hopefully I didn't break anything, which is so likely in my case. I tend to be good at breaking things. So while we wait for this, I'm going to check. Did I leave this window open? Let's get rid of that. Okay, so back to code. Still waiting. Andrew Maxey, I'll make a point of making some video demos once I get that stuff up there, and I can just show the videos here and kind of highlight my experience with this stuff. Like I could plug the Echo Flex in and show you what it sounds like and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a good idea. Thank you. All right, so it's uploaded. So let's give this a run and see what happens. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. What else can I provide information about?
Luke Skywalker.
You asked me about Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was a Tatooine farm boy who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the greatest Jedi the galaxy has ever known. Along with his friends Princess Leia and Han Solo,
Alexa,
Luke battled the...
quiz me about Episode 1.
You hit the quiz intent. Goodbye.
Awesome. So you can see that obviously my skill is still working. I'm able to talk about Luke Skywalker. That's something I always like to try. But then I was also able to ask about the quiz intent, and it hit my, what do we call that intent? It's down here at the bottom of not this. If I go to my code, it's the bottom of my code. It is the, what do we call that? The intent reflector. I don't know why I couldn't remember the word inflector. But this intent reflector is something that I have built into my code that just tells me, hey, you hit an intent that we didn't catch. This usually happens when I'm building a skill and I have not built the handler for a specific intent yet, which is exactly what just happened here. But in this case, we're actually catching that thing and then we just say goodbye and it ends the skill. It makes it very easy for me to recognize that I haven't done that yet. So the next thing that we need to do is grab a handler. Like this one looks delightful. I like this structure and I don't have to worry about building it or anything. What's above this? This is the crawl. Yeah, this will be good right after the crawl. So I will put this right here. And we're going to call this quiz intent handler. XBuckIX says, Alexa, close down that quiz on episode 1 like a boss. Good, Alexa, never create a handler for episode 1. That would be pretty fun if we built this whole thing and every time someone asks about episode 1, we just don't acknowledge it. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what that is. That would be pretty funny. If you guys aren't familiar, there is a order that has been recommended for people to watch the saga films called the Machete Order, and it completely eliminates episode 1 as if it's not important whatsoever. Very, very funny, but also accurate. I mean, I think to tell the whole story, you don't necessarily need episode 1, but, you know, obviously more backstory is better. Yeah, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, I think is currently the order. It might not even be that. Let's look it up. Right, let's have some fun. Spend a little time. Star Wars Machete Order. Let's just open this article and see what we get. So the Machete Order. Are we not going to tell me what Machete Order is? That does not tell me. I don't want your notifications. Does anyone ever want notifications from their browser? I know I don't. Okay, here's the Machete Order. It is 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, 7, and then 8. And episode 1 is not included at all. But they recommend this as the best way to watch the story. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but it's an interesting perspective. But anyway, kind of cool. I can dig into this stuff all day, no problem at all. XBuckIX, happy to have you. Happy to have a good discussion, and it's relevant to what we're talking about. But I don't think I'll actually exclude episode 1. Okay, quiz intent handler in here. I need the quiz intent. That's what I'm looking for. And then in here, this first line I just have everywhere. This is getting me the intent name that I'm currently in, and it just logs it for me. This allows me to see what intent I'm hitting and when and where, so in my logging. So I just leave that one there all the time. And then we have a very basic you said help, which is not something I really want. So the first thing that I need to do is get the value that the user spoke. Now there's a trick with this. we have three possible scenarios that we've laid out for ourselves. The first is that they say quiz me, and they don't provide any value at all. Fine, okay, we can live with that. The second option is they say quiz me about media, right? Some episode. And in this case, we need to go get the media value to know what it is they're asking us about. And then the third one is quiz me about characters, right? We have that new type that we just created. And so in that case, we'll need to grab the type value. So what you may have seen me do before, and these are functions that I've built for myself because they come in incredibly handy, are things like this. So I'm going to grab these two lines, copy those, and I'll explain what they do. But in here, the first thing that I'm going to do is grab the spoken words from the slot media. So this goes into my handler input, request envelope, everything, and it digs in and it finds the slot value media. And if it finds it, then it will return the value of the words that the user spoke. So they might have said episode 1, or they might have even said 1, or they might have said Phantom Menace or the Phantom Menace, or whatever, the one Jar Jar's in, whatever things I'm prepared for them to say. And then I return that value back, assuming that they said something. If they didn't say anything, spoken words will return an undefined value, which is what I would expect it to return if I went and hunted for it anyway. Resolved words, this is what resolves against my slot. So we have those slot values that have all of those things in them. And what it does is it lets me know a very consistent value based on what the user said. So if they were to say, tell me about Han, my resolve value would be Han Solo, because it matches one of my slot values and allows me to capture that value, say, oh, they're talking about Han Solo. I don't have to do any interpretation on their actual words. And then I can go get those values and whatever. So the first thing that I'm going to do is grab these values for media. And then I'm going to say if spoken words equals undefined. Well, actually, let's do it the other way. If spoken words doesn't equal undefined, boy, if I could type, I would be dangerous. If spoken words doesn't equal undefined, then what are we going to do? This is the case where they indicated a media property. No, media value. And in fact, I'm going to do this both ways because I'm also going to expect that they've resolved. So if spoken words doesn't equal undefined and resolved words don't equal undefined. This way I know I've also resolved something undefined. So if both of those things are not undefined, then they indicated the media value and we're good to go. Otherwise, we're going to have to do a little work, and we'll do an else if. No, not else if. We're going to do. How do we want to do this? Because we don't know anything yet. Yes, we're going to do it this way. We're going to change this to spoken media. We're going to change this to resolved. I don't normally have to check for multiple values, which is why I just called it spoken and resolved words. All of that is fine. Leaving everything else here is like this. But then I'm going to change this to spoken type. And for these, I will indicate that I want to look at the type slot. So I have either media or I have type. And this one is checking spoken words, which doesn't exist anymore. So I want to change this to spoken media. And I want this to be resolved media. And then down here, I can have an if case that looks very similar. So we'll take that. Else if. And this time it'll be spoken type and resolve type. And again, if they're both resolved, then awesome. Otherwise, I can just say I'm going to quiz you on a random thing. And all of this if statement really is just getting me the proper query against my database. So all I'm going to do is go out and get a item, but I want to make sure I'm getting an item within the scope that the user has indicated. This is going to be, this is going to be a little tricky. Partially because I don't have all the data yet, but I'll be interested to see how this goes. But we're going to need an array or some kind of indication of what are all the types for when we do it randomly. Because I can't just look in the character table. I can't just look in the droid table. I need to look in all the tables at once, or not really at once, but I need to randomly pick which table I want to look in, and then go to that table and grab an item out of that table. So that, I guess that should be pretty workable. So what I'm going to do for the media ones, these are easier, is I'm going to do var item equals get random. No, that's not really what I want. I want to get random item function, which I have, but I'm concerned that the get random item function that I have today is not what I want. So let's go see. Get random item, that just gets a random thing. So what I need to do is get random. Yeah, we've got a couple of tricks that I hadn't considered. I haven't. It's not like I come to these videos with a grand plan that is instruction. There's a lot of exploration and thinking as we go through these. And so I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. So in here, what I need to do is they indicated a media value. I'm going to get rid of this for now. We need to randomly select a type and pick one item from that list that matches that media. Okay, so that's really the thing. So the thing I have to do before I do anything is randomly select the name of a table. Yeah, randomly select the name of a table. So I'm going to just, way up here at the top, I'm going to call this, what do I want to call this? Types. And it's just going to be an array. And we're going to get character and droid and I don't remember. So if we come back to my air table, which is not there, character droid, creature vehicle weapon, creature vehicle weapon. What else? Technology, thing, location, species, organization. Technology. Thing. Location. Species. And weapon. No, and organization. Fixed technology here. And I have a very nice array of all of my data types now. That's pretty fun. So we at least have that list of things because we'll need that down here. And then the next step, if I can get back to where I was working, is I need to randomly choose a category. So I'm going to have to do this no matter what. So I'm going to do it here. And we're going to do var type equals get random item. And this is what I think this is really good for, is get random item. I just pass in a collection of things. Yeah, and it's going to randomly grab one for me. Beautiful. So that should work well. So I have my type. I have a random type that I'm going to pull a category from. And then I'm going to need to do some interesting things to query my database using the appropriate data types. So let's go get How do we want to do this? I guess let's see what kind of functions I've already created. I have get specific data by ID. I don't care about that. I care about get specific data, get category list basically is what I want, which doesn't exist right now. Get resolve values. These are a bunch of support things. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of this built yet. So, but this is kind of what I want. So I'm going to create one of these. And we're going to do get items by category. And I have a table, but I think that's all I'm going to need. And so in my get items by category, I'm going to say, well, I don't care about record ID, but I care about category. Let's go look at my data real quick. So if I look at like character, I just want all the data from here, but then I also need to be able to say where appearances contains the media that I'm referring to. So I'm only going to pull back items that are in a specific item. And I think I called it appearances in all of these tables, so that should be good. Yep. Okay. These are the tables that concern me, though, because, like, what if I say episode 3? I don't have any data for episode 3. I will, eventually, but there are certainly places where I don't have data for all the tables. Okay. So we're going to call it appearances. And so I'm going to need to write a query that will go out and use this filter by formula stuff. So filter by formula is disabled, doesn't equal false, that's right. I don't care about record ID, but I can't say equals. I need to say something like contains. So this is where I start digging into the documentation for Airtable. So we can go to api.airtable.com. They have a very nice setup in here where if I come into my table, which is not zoomed in very well, but good enough for now, and I go to like authentication. I can't remember exactly where they keep this. Is it under fields? Character table. There's a place where they provide a link to a code pen. And that code pen formula? No, not that. Yeah. This is what I wanted. And then in here I need to do a formula, and this formula link is really the thing that I needed. So I need to do like a contains or find. No, not find. I think there's a contains. Go away. Searches for an occurrence of string defined in where to search string. Starting from an optional. That might work. There's not a contains, which is what I was thinking I would use. But I feel like I've used search before. So let's go see if I can find the syntax for that in TKO, because I'm pretty sure I probably used it there. Find search. No. How about find? There we go. So we're going to take this chunk. And we were talking about locale there, but same idea applies. So open paren, close paren, we'll take that, and we'll jump back in here. And I'll explain what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take out record ID because I don't know that. I don't know what the record ID of the record I'm getting is because I'm picking something randomly. And instead I'm going to put this in here where I'm going to find, and the thing I'm going to find is going to be potentially. Oh man. This is the wrong table. This is the wrong function anyway. Get items by category. And I need to be able to say this goes away, which is fine, and this goes in sometimes. That's going to be weird. So I need to just say if not disabled, but I also want to be able to say that I could have passed in basically, I don't know if this makes sense to you guys. It makes sense in my head. But I'm building a function that will randomly get me a subset of my data by category right now. So I'm just saying, like, hey, get me all the stuff from this table, or get me all the stuff from the location table, or whatever. But I also have those two other cases that I'm writing, which are where it's only in a specific appearance. It only appears in a specific film. And also, where it's in another type, which is the category tables themselves. So that part's pretty easy, but I have the potential media element. So I guess that's just what I'm going to pass in here is media. And then I can say var media query. It's a weird thing to come up with since that's a CSS thing. And bring it back. Okay, and instead of doing that, let's put some quotation marks up and drop it inside there. Well, you didn't like that at all, huh? I need to put that find right here. Okay, fine, I'll do it your way. I'll play your game. Okay, so this then will equal media, and the word locale will change to appearance. And I actually don't have any idea if that will work. But we'll see. These are learning experiences. So I have this media query where I'm saying, I want you to find elements. Is that going to work? Probably not. Because I also need to do var media query equals nothing. And then in here I need to say if media query, if media isn't empty, if media is not undefined, then media query equals that. And then in here I would say, get rid of this comma, and put the parentheses there because that makes that clean. I have my parentheses and everything correct, but right here is where I would put my media query if I had one. Which means that this thing needs to start with a comma because that's where it'll get dropped in. And there's absolutely no way this is going to work, but it's fun to think that we'll get it. And then this is, I only want to return one item. So I'm going to get random item right out of that set, which is here. We don't need just the first one. We need out of all of them. So I'm going to call this random item. And we're going to instead of saying item, just so that I know that I did this, we're going to do random, and this will be table dot to uppercase. Okay, so now I know that I'm getting a random character, or I'm getting a random whatever, which is fine. So I'm assuming this is all going to work. We'll see. But I have my get items by category function. It probably needs a little work just building that query out, but we have the thing we need. So I have my get random item on type, so I know what type I'm going to call. So now we just need to say right here, like var item equals get items Get. Did I call it get items by category? Looks like I did. The table is going to be type. Is it? No. They've said by media, but they didn't say like quiz me on characters in the movie. They just said quiz me on the movie. So yeah, this is okay. We're going to use the type that we picked randomly, and then for the media, we're going to pass in spoken media. No, not spoken media. Resolved media dot fields. No. Resolved media. I gotta go see what I get when I bring them back there. I don't like when I have to know things. I don't like having to know or memorize what a function is returning. Get resolved words. You're gonna return to me the value. So I think I have to do like dot name and dot. We'll get there, everybody. I'm sorry. Resolve media dot name. I think that's right. Okay, so that should get me my random thing, but this is asynchronous, so I need to do await, and I need my handler to be async. I also need my handler to be registered because I never did that. So let's take that quiz intent handler and put that at the bottom. Just slap it in right here. Comma, save. Okay, it's at least in the registry. And now we can come back here and maybe make something actually work. I'm writing a lot of code and not testing any of it, so I can't wait to see how it blows up. But we now have an individual item and oh, this is going to get messy really fast. Because every table has a different set of properties. So I'll have to know what those properties are in order to be able to pull them out and ask questions. I guess let me give you a quick background of what I was thinking, at least initially. I have my data, so let's look at like creature. And in here I have some interesting data, right? I have appearances, but if they ask me to quiz on episode 2, they already know that. So I could say this creature is on Camino, but that's not really enough data. I was really trying to avoid writing a description that is anonymous, but I think I'm going to have to do that. So for every item, I'll have a quiz description that kind of it kind of gives you a brief description of the thing. And it can read that to you. Is that really how I get? I mean, I'm gonna have to do that, I guess. So we're only worried about character and droid right now, so I'll do that for those, and then I'll forget this. And so we'll bring this in, insert left. We'll call this quiz description. Quiz with a Z. And single line of text is fine. Save that. And then we'll do the same thing for droid. So we'll have a insert left quiz description. And it's very possible if I go crazy with this that I'll need 3 versions of this as well. But that's okay. And then I'm going to take the voice description for all of these, copy it, and put it in the quiz description also, just so I have data there, because I do have descriptions for all these things. Characters the same way. I will take my, go to the top, take a voice description, go to the very bottom, which is 100 something, take this one, copy, back to the top, and paste, just so I have answers. They're obviously giving the answers away. If I open any of these, like this is Isla Secura, The exotic beauty and blue skin, eyeless Akira stood out. I can't give this as the clue because it says the person's name. So we will have to tweak these up. But at least we have them for character and droid now, and they're, as you see, pretty easy to change out. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to our code and know that we're going to get this item, and then I can just pull that description every single time. So I'm going to have var item live out here. And item can be defined in here, because then I can just use each individual item as I need them. So in this case, get items by category. I'm not going to provide media. And then for this one down here, I just need to do the same thing. Oh, the difference is here I'm going to give resolve type. That's what it was. That's why they're different. And then in this one, it's the randomized type that we selected. Okay. So we have all three of those things, and then I'm just in here, I'm going to, well, no, it'll write it out when it gets it, so I don't need to console log that. And we'll just so we have some content, we'll hear, I selected to quiz you on, and then I'll just say the name of the thing, because we're just building for fun now. So this will be item.fields.name. So that I can at least tell you, assuming everything works, I can tell you what the thing is that I selected. We'll worry about building the quiz in a second, because that'll require asking a question and then storing stuff to random data. Like, there's other pieces to this. So I'd like to see how we're looking so far. So let's do a Lambda update. Push our code up and see how many things I broke. Because I'm betting it's a lot. At a minimum, it's going to be the call out to the data that's going to break. Because I feel like I did not do a good job on my formula. But who knows? Maybe I got lucky. It's happened before. Could happen again. What do you guys think? Do you think I did it right? Anyone have any thoughts? You're very quiet. Quiet's fine. I know you guys sometimes listen while you work and other things. So if you have thoughts, love to hear them. If you don't have thoughts, also fine. So let's give this a run. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations.
Alexa,
How may I...
quiz me.
You asked me about Shmi Skywalker Lars. The mother of Anakin Skywalker was also a brave and resilient woman who survived life as a slave to become a Tatooine moisture farmer.
Alexa,
Shmi surrendered...
quiz me about episode 4.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but
Alexa,
everything's
quit.
perfectly...
Let's go look at some logs. We, if you've been here before, you know we do this off of camera, because it's very possible that I might show some API keys or something like that. So I don't want you to see any of that. So we'll go in and dig, and then once I've found the thing, then we will. I'll bring it up on screen without all the. What is this thing here? What's going on? Wow. All right. So I need to go to my logs, and I need to go to Star Wars Databank. Star Wars Databank, and then go to latest, which is 1058, which is, just now. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. Cannot read property length of undefined on 425. All right. So let's go look at that. Line 425. I'm trying to access a length that doesn't exist. I'm passing it in items. Certainly seems like that should work. Makes me wonder what broke that. So I'm going to go back into my logs just to see if I can get any other clarification. I was in the quiz intent. Okay. What I can't see is 239. There we go. I was looking for the chain of events that got us there. 239 called that function, and is the get random item for. Oh, here, check this out, guys. This is what happens when you don't pair program with me. Things just break. So what I did is I created a variable called type, and I said get random item for this list of things that I have up here, which is types. But I didn't use types. I used type. So down here, we just need this to be types. I was passing in something that did not exist. Let's give that another try. Again, this is where we work through all of the bugs that we've created, and eventually, when the skill responds with the right answer, we'll have cleared out all the bugs. Hopefully. One of the other things that I didn't do that I know is going to break, I should just go fix now, is where we call out to get the query to go get the data. This I didn't URL encode. I need to wrap it in this because it has spaces, and that will automatically break it. So I don't know why I thought I could get away with that. Okay. That's fine. We'll leave that for now. I'm sure we will find another bug. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations.
Alexa,
what else?
Quiz me about episode 4.
I selected to quiz you on Han Solo's dice.
That just worked?
I didn't find a match for I just worked, but you can ask about a character,
Alexa,
or a species, or...
Quiz me on episode 1.
I selected to quiz you on at Holler.
Alexa, quiz me on episode 2.
I selected to quiz you on Space Slug.
Wow.
I didn't find a match for WoW, but you can ask about a character,
Alexa,
or a
quit.
species.
Hey everybody. That worked. It worked. It's randomly grabbing an item from a random table and bringing it back without URL encoding. How is it doing that? Do I not have spaces in my names, and I think I do? If I go to media, no, I do have spaces. That should definitely have freaked out because it would be using these values. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human
Alexa,
Cyborg Relations.
Quiz me on The Mandalorian.
I selected to quiz you on Ion Cannon.
Oh.
You asked me about Poe Dameron,
Alexa,
a commander
quit.
in the
We still have some issues here for sure, but we're close. So in here, if we get back to our thing, I selected to quiz you on the item that I pulled. What I don't know is it actually doing it by media? Let's see, console.log. Quiz by media. And this is quiz by type. And this is random quiz without anything. Okay, so we've got that log, but I'm going to take this off. We'll quiz you about I can add in some stuff here. Our type quiz you about a character. Called. So let's try that. So now at least I'll be able to tell myself what kind of what my type was. I can do this one better. Let's just create a temporary variable called query type. Query type equals media. Query type equals type. And query type equals random. So what I've done here is I'm just adding, this is something I will rip out. Excuse me. But the way that I know it's working, I can at least say what the query type is. So we'll just tack that on the beginning. So she'll either say media, type, or random, and then she'll say I selected a quiz about what type it is, and then the item. So I should at least know what's going on. So let's push that up. I'm going to drink some water so I stop coughing. Hopefully this goes up pretty quick. Okay, that's good. So now we'll be able to hear what happens. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations.
Alexa,
What else can I provide?
quiz me about episode 4.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now.
Alexa, quit.
We're fine.
So why are we breaking now? It must be something I just added. Nothing like adding debugging code that breaks your thing. Query type is not defined, of course. Because I was not consistent in how I named it. Man. The issues I could avoid for myself if I were just consistent would be just amazing. Man, my hair is just like all over the place today. We only have 51 minutes left. We got to get this working. Come on. There we go. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA,
Alexa.
Humans.
Quiz me on episode 4.
Media I selected to quiz about a vehicle called Speeder Bike.
Alexa, quit. All right, we're going to jump back into the logs one more time because I think I write this stuff out. But that said Speeder Bike. Speeder Bike is most certainly not part of episode 4. And so it makes me wonder why it's finding it. Are my queries not right? Let's look at that. Let's jump back into the code here and see if my queries look wrong. So get items by category is the thing I'm calling every time, and in this case, I'm actually passing in a media name. And so when I go to that function, which I should have just done here, get, I should also rename this function. Let's name this appropriately. Get random item by category. That's what it should be called. Because that's more or less what we're doing. And then down here, get random item by category is what we'll call here. And then in my media example, if media doesn't equal undefined, I really need to see what the query is being put together, and that revolves around looking at my logs, which I can't do on screen. So, oh, it looks like I even have that turned off. So I got to go back into my code. I'll show you where I do this. I have in my HTTPS request, I have this options right here. No, this full path is the one that I want. And when I turn this on, you'll see that it pulls in my Airtable key, which is the secret key that I use to talk to that API. And I obviously do not want that shown on screen. So I'm going to jump back to my camera and we're just going to run this one more time. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg
Alexa.
Relations.
Quiz me about episode 4.
Media I selected to quiz about a location called Balnab.
Alexa, quit. Okay. So I have my log. I have to see what this looks like. Didn't write out my query string or my oh, you know why? Because I uncommented it, but I didn't actually push that code. Man, the mistakes you can make writing code can cost you so much time. I know this is only a few minutes at a time, but I feel like I've already wasted just like 15 minutes just trying to figure out why something isn't working, and it's usually something very, very dumb. All right, code. We're just waiting for this to finish loading, but I'm going to keep it on the Alexa view.
I didn't catch that. Please say that again.
No thanks. Okay, Alexa, open Star Wars Databank and quiz me on episode 4.
Media I selected to quiz about a technology called Back to Suit.
Alexa, quit. Yeah, I scream. I hear you, man. It's a brutal life, but we live it. So I'm digging into my logs. I have my full path now. And I can see... Yeah, it's not adding that in. Did I... Is it possible that I just never included it? It is, in fact... No, that's there. And it's there. It should be writing that out. So media must not equal undefined. This is my issue right now, is I am doing this, or I'm creating a media query, and then if media isn't undefined, then I create this media query variable and I add this other stuff. This is the part that I thought would break too. The trick is that it must not be coming through as undefined, even though I'm not passing a value. I thought that would be undefined. So let's take a look at what it actually is. Console.log Media equals, and I like to wrap this in stuff because sometimes you end up with like weird special characters and stuff. So I'm going to do media, and we'll just see what we end up with there. So that's my console log. I'm going to push this one more time. And again, I won't show the logs because it has my API keys. But there's nothing super interesting there. All we're going to see is the entire path that I called out to the API with all of this stuff kind of concatenated together. And hopefully it will just work. And I'll be able to see what the media value is. If it doesn't equal undefined, this should still definitely be happening when I say episode 4. So is it possible that I'm not putting that value in there when I call it? Resolved media.name. I should probably also be looking at what resolved media is. Resolved media, and we're going to do, no, I don't want any of that. We're going to wrap this in a JSON stringify just so that I can see the properties, because it's possible that I am somehow not like resolved media.name. Maybe that's not appropriate. In fact, I am certain it's not now, which is why it's undefined, which is why it's not working. This should be that. So, yeah. So let's give that a roll. And you asked if I had undefined in quotes. I don't think that I do, because it is a reserved word. No, it looks like I'm comparing against just a straight up undefined. So we'll push this lambda and we'll see if we learn something, I guess. And we'll go from there. Come on, Lambda. Every time I do this, I'm tempted to install the local debugger because it would allow me to do some interesting things here. Probably improve my debugging speed because I wouldn't be pushing code to the cloud, but this is where it will eventually live, so it feels weird to flip it over. All right. Off to camera land. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank and quiz me about episode 4.
I am AL3XA.
Alexa,
Human cyborg.
Quiz me about episode 4.
Media I selected to quiz about a weapon called blaster pistol.
Alexa, quit. Okay. Into the logs we go. It definitely equals undefined, which is especially when I'm quizzing by media, not what it should equal, and it's because of the issue that I identified. So before I even needed the logs, I figured it out. So the problem I had, which I need to fix here, is right here. This resolve media 0 dot name. That's the thing that I need, and so it might have just worked actually, but I want to verify that. So we'll leave all of the stuff there, and we'll just push it one more time, and then I'll get rid of the console log statements if we don't need them. But I forgot that the resolve values is an array, but in many cases it'll only be a one item array, and so I need to grab that one item out of the array regardless of however many there are. And I think that's the issue that I was having, which is why why I was passing in undefined, which is why it wasn't using the query. So we'll see what we get this time. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank and quiz me on episode 4.
Media I selected to quiz about a weapon called ion cannon.
Alexa, quit. So the first thing I want to check is my weapon, ion cannon. Does it have an appearance in episode 4? It does not. So that's not working regardless. But I'm going to go take a look at my logs now and see what just happened. Are we actually putting that query data on the end of the string? No, see, I'm still thinking that the media is undefined. Then my full path is not including that extra stuff. So what could I be doing wrong here? Quiz by media, that's the thing I want to look at in the logs. Quiz by media. Dot value. Ah, there we go. All right. Here we are. So it's not resolved media dot name, it's dot value dot name. Like so. And I will I'll leave all this alone. Dot value. So that should pass in a random item. Or it should pass in the name of the resolved media that I indicated. So I think this will work now. I think that was the issue, was that I forgot dot value. And I'm going to go back and look at that really quick while we wait for the Lambda to upload, just to make sure that I got it right. But I have quiz by media value dot name or dot ID. And so what actually, I might also want the ID instead of the name, because that's actually what it seems to be searching on. Well, let's see here. Lambda's good. We're good here. Let's give it a run. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on episode 4.
We had a slight weapons malfunction,
Okay, I can live
but
with that.
everything's perfectly all right now.
Alexa, quit.
We're fine.
Always what I'm afraid of is showing those logs now that I have my data in there. So this time episode 4 came through, so that's great news. But the API did not like it. So I'm going to take the API call, and I'm going to go to my browser, and I'm going to drop that in, and we're going to see what we're getting here. Invalid formula. Okay. Find episode 4 in appearance. So let's go back and look at that find function, which I guess I can bring you along for. I'll just forget later and go back into the logs. Find is this. Find an occurrence of string defined in where to search string. Okay, so I have two values. I have string defined and where to search. Okay, so it seems like I'm doing that. If I look at my URL here, I have well, Michael, you make a really good point. So Michael has brought up that I should write a custom log function that obfuscates my credentials. The problem is that the reason that I'm logging my credentials and the reason that I'm logging all this stuff is so that I can quickly copy the URL out of my logs and take it apart and start playing with it in like a browser address bar or whatever. I actually don't need them to be logged otherwise. It's just so that if something goes wrong, I have a quick, easy way to grab the URL that would do it. So while I completely agree with you, I used to just turn these off. I really need to do something with my hair today. The reason that I'm logging them is so that I can easily take these things apart and figure out what I'm doing wrong. So let me see here. I have open 1, open 2. I have an extra parentheses. I think that's my issue. So let's try just fixing that. I think I just have an extra parenthesis, which would be awesome if that's the issue. Find. I think it's this piece right here that I don't need. The exclamation point 3DO. I wish I could show you this. I'll give you one. I'll try to get back to it in 1 second. So if I remove that, what do I get? And we're looking in vehicle. So I'm going to change. I have to do one more thing here. This will be pretty easy. Because it's called appearances. Well, that's on me. Appearances. Okay, cool. So we're back to playing, and I'm gonna push this code back up. So it looks like I had a little bit of extra, and actually I need to fix this before. I'll have to push the lambda again. That needed to go away. I don't know why that was probably a copy and paste issue that just followed me in. But I will. I'll have to push this lambda one more time. I'm with you. I think that Michael. It sounds like you and I actually use CloudWatch quite similarly. The only difference is that when I'm on live stream, it becomes a hassle, right? Like there's things I have to worry about putting on screen and stuff like that. Especially if I want to archive this and throw it to YouTube, I don't want to have to do a bunch of weird edits. So it's easier to just step away from the code view. Let's push this one more time now that I've made that other change. But the primary issue was I was referring to the table appearances, or appearance, not appearances. And I never pluralize the names of fields, but I must have done it for that for some reason. All right. Well, I'm thinking once we push this, we're good. I'm going to jump while we're waiting. I'm going to jump back over here and just give this one more shot. Yeah, that's getting me the data that I want. What I don't know is if this is all going to work exactly like I want it to, but we'll find out here in a second. So if we come back to the code, it has been deployed. Let's go. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on episode 4.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but
Alexa, quit.
Every...
What could be wrong now? I thought we nailed it. CloudWatch, logs, open it up. Oh, because it went to organization, and maybe I don't have an organization tagged with episode 4. Let's just try that again and see if it works. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank and quiz me on episode 4.
I am AL3XA.
Alexa,
human cyborg.
Quiz me on episode 4.
Media I selected to quiz about a thing called Han Solo's dice.
Okay, and quit. Alexa, that is an item that...
I didn't find a match for an item.
Alexa,
but you
quit.
can ask about a...
If I go to Thing and I look at Han Solo's dice, we can see that episode 4 was one of the places that exists. So that's good news. The error that I got was just that we went to organization, and I don't think that I have anything. I might not even have a lot of... this is where not having data is bad. But if we look at my appearances table, I have Solo, I have Clone Wars, episode 7, 6, 7, and 8. Yeah, I don't have an episode 4 data point. So I will have to be really conscious of making sure. I mean, there is data, right? So it's like Stormtroopers were definitely in episode 4, so I could add that. And now this table is safe. Every one of these will have that data, so it's not like I shouldn't need to write a whole bunch of weird catchy stuff for all these, like, oh, that thing didn't exist situation, because it will exist. I just haven't finished entering all my data. We can add this one as episode 5. But that's the error that I'm getting right now. Otherwise, I think it's working. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on episode 5.
Media I selected to quiz about a location called Hoth.
Yeah, see, that seems perfect. It chose the location.
I didn't find a match for yeah, but you can ask about a character,
Alexa,
or a species, or a vehicle.
Alexa,
for example.
Quit. So we come down here and look for Hoth.
I didn't find a match for yeah, but you can ask about a character, or
Alexa,
a species.
Quit. Thank you. Okay, so you can see that I had episode 5 in my location table. So I think we're good. I mean, there's still that outstanding issue potentially of there is no data in that table for that appearance. But that's a solved issue. That will be solved. I'm not too worried about that now. The second thing that we wanted to do was quiz me about a character. And if I do that, let's go look at our code just to make sure that we're doing this properly. So in this case, we're going to say, oh, you've resolved to a specific type. And we're going to check for that type. And then randomly pull something out of that table. So this should work. Alexa, ask Star Wars Database to quiz me about a character.
I'm sorry. After checking my databanks, I don't know a Star Wars character named a character. Can I help you with something else? Can I help you with something else?
Quiz me about a character.
I'm sorry. After checking my databanks, I don't know a Star Wars character named a character. Is there something else you would like to know about?
Quiz me about characters.
I'm sorry. After checking my databanks, I don't know a Star Wars character named characters. Can I help you with something else?
Quiz me about a droid.
I'm sorry. After checking my databanks,
That's not hitting the
I
right
don't know a
intent.
Star Wars character named me about a droid.
Alexa, quit. My first thought is that maybe I didn't push all the changes here, which I suppose is possible, but I thought that we had gone through that. So let me deploy everything again, because that should be hitting it. Ask quiz me about a type. I have the type defined. I have the slot defined. All of that should be working. The intent that it's hitting, though, and we can use a cool tool for this in the dev console to see what it's doing or why it thinks it's doing what it's doing. Just log in here to that, and then developer console. Alexa skills kit.
I don't know that one.
Alexa quit. Okay, and then in here, once I look at like an intent, I can go to evaluate model, and I can say, quiz me about droids. Hit the quiz intent, type is droid. So I'm guessing maybe I hadn't pushed the model, or at least that change. I thought that I had, but the fact that that's working now suggests that the push that I just made probably fixed it. We're updating the Lambda function now, so we'll see. That's all good. All right, Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me about droids.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine.
Alexa quit.
We're all fine.
All right, back to the logs. Sorry, everybody. I like when things just work, and they're not just working today. We're having a rougher experience with this. Quiz by type. Media is undefined. Oh, it's the same issue I had before because I'm a dummy. All right, so in here we have our well, I guess I should show you what I'm doing. So up here we fixed this, right? We had resolved media, and we had to pull the first element out of the array. Well, I didn't learn from my bad practices, and so in here I want to pass in the same thing. Resolve type 0 dot value dot name. I don't know why I didn't fix that before, but it's there now. I'm also going to get rid of this because I don't really need that anymore. And it seems like we're going into the appropriate loops and things, into the appropriate if statements. So let's just try pushing our lambda again. And this time, I think it will work because I'm actually passing the right values in. I don't know why I can be so dumb sometimes, but here we are. And I'm thinking the last one should work fine. I just haven't tried it yet. I'd have to say quiz me, which was mapping to shme. So I'll have to think about that also. Okay, Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me about episode 4. Make sure this still works.
Media I selected to quiz about a weapon called lightsaber.
Quiz me about characters.
Type I selected to quiz about a technology called ARC Trooper Echo.
Quiz me.
Random I selected to quiz about a technology called Back to Suit.
Sweet. Quit.
I didn't find a match for sweet, but you can ask about a character, or a species, or a vehicle. For example, what else can I provide information about?
Stop.
Goodbye.
All right, so it works. So I'm going to get rid of some of this other junk that I have in here. I don't need the query type. That was just for me to know stuff with her voice. I can get my cursor out of the way. So we don't really need query type anymore. We don't need these comments. Oh, too far. This nice and simple one-line kind of stuff. Okay, so we have our 3 item statements. We have this, which is still not quizzing the user, but that's okay because we have the data. So we should be able to say, I think I'm still going to do some of this. So I'm going to say like, I picked I'm gonna have to say that for organization. I picked a organization. Ugh. I don't really want to write the an thing, but I picked a character. And then I need the item dot fields dot quiz description. I think it already has punctuation, but I'll put the space. And then items dot field dot quiz description, and then I'll say like, who am I thinking of? I picked a character. This person, yada, yada, yada. Who am I thinking of? All right, cool. So that should start my quiz. The other thing we're going to have to do, of course, is write an answer intent. But I think that I can use the intents that I already have. All I need to do is say, oh, I was asking them a quiz question, so I don't want to give them the answer, or maybe I do, and I could just say correct or incorrect, and then give them like the lowdown. That might be interesting. It relies on a lot of the infrastructure I already have, which is nice, but I don't know if it's a great user experience. We'll get there. All right. So let's see how this goes. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on Episode 5.
I picked a character. A legendary Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi was a noble man and gifted in the ways of the Force. He trained Anakin Skywalker, served as a general in the Republic Army during the Clone Wars, and guided Luke Skywalker as a mentor. Who am I thinking of?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You asked me about Obi-Wan Kenobi. A legendary Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi was
Alexa,
a noble
quit.
man and gifted.
Okay, so I've got the part written now where I can ask you the question. You can say, hey, quiz me on something. And you can ask for a movie or a TV show or whatever. You can also, you can ask for a certain category. So like quiz me on characters or droids or whatever. You'll kind of have to know what those are. So I'll probably have to write an intent for that as well. So let me write that down. Throw a to-do in here that is build an intent to let the user know what all of the categories are. Probably should have another one too that is like build an intent for all of the media that we support, because there's a much larger expanded Star Wars universe that includes all sorts of crazy stuff, and we don't support all those things. We have a very limited list of movies and TV shows that we are supporting currently. So those will be things we have to build eventually. And then one more, because I don't think we're going to get to it today, is save the question we asked so that we know they answered it correctly next time. Okay. So I'll have to build an answer intent handler of some kind that, or maybe not. Maybe I can do that up here, where I just check and see if we look at this this top intent here. The excuse me, the items. Yeah, the item description handler. This is where if they say anything that lands in any one of these, which is exactly the set of data that I'm looking for, then I will compare the answer that I'm looking for to the answer they gave. And if they got it right, great, I'll congratulate them and say, yoo-hoo, you got it right, awesome. And maybe I'll do some like excited R2-D2 noises or something. And if they get it wrong, I can have Darth Vader be like, you failed me for the last time, right? Or something clever and fun like that. So up here, this is where we need to check to see if they answered a question quiz and if they got it correct. Use sound effects like excited R2-D2 or disappointed Darth Vader. Okay. I could even do things like, feel the hate flow through you. We'll have to see how much I can get away with sound effects from the actual movies, but yeah, we'll see. We'll try to push the envelope a little bit. All right, that feels pretty good. So we've built the quiz engine, which was this piece here somewhere. Crawl, and then it's right after that. So we didn't write a ton of code, which is good. All we did was we're grabbing media and type to see if those things exist. And then if they do, then we ask questions based on what the user specified. And if they didn't specify either of those, then they must have just wanted a random quiz question by saying quiz me or test me or something like that. And then I'll say, hey, I picked a character. I'll read a quiz description that will have to be written. And then I can't say who am I thinking of, what am I thinking of, because it's not always going to be a person. What am I thinking of? And then we'll have variations on that speech and stuff anyway. So that feels pretty good. What do you guys think? What am I missing? What else does this need to do? Are there other things that we'd want to let them specify, like media or category? I don't think so. But maybe. I think we could really refine the data down and say like, oh, quiz me on people from Tatooine. But I feel like that might get too granular, and we end up running out of data. Maybe not for Tatooine, but certainly for other places where there's just one character or maybe just one species that happens to come from a random planet. We don't want to constantly be in a situation where we're like, oh, I don't have anything to ask you about that. So I think these kind of broad selections are good. Lord of Sound likes them. That's good. All right. So again, the big task, as is true with every Alexa skill I've ever built, the content is far more time consuming than the code. And getting us to a point where we have a quiz description for all of these things, this is going to be the real trick. So I feel like I'm at a good stopping point. It's 11:48. My clock says I have 12 minutes left, but I really feel like I'm starving, and we've gotten to a good stopping point. Lord of Sound, are the questions in the Airtable tagged? Can you tell me what you mean by tagged? And I'll show you what I mean with my data. So they are tagged in things like this, right? Hoth appeared in episode 5. General Veers is someone that we met in episode 5 on Hoth. And there's some creatures that live there, the Wampa and the Tauntaun. So we could flip this around another way, and I could go to creature, and I could look at Tauntaun, right? This one here. And then in here I can see that he was in episode 5 and 6, and he was on Hoth, right? So all of these have that kind of tag data, I guess. And so I would consider listing some of these things off. The real challenge is the properties really need to be the same for all of them, or I'm going to have a custom list of properties for every single thing. Yeah, episode 5 is something I'm doing, right? I'm doing that for appearances because every one of the tables has that. But not everything has a location. Not everything has droids have a droid type, right? Medical protocol, things like that. Technologies have appearances, but they don't really have anything else. I've considered doing like owners of we look at like vehicles. But not every vehicle is going to have an owner either. And they have affiliations. Some, like characters and droids and vehicles, have affiliations, but not everything does. So I end up with these kind of spotty tagging systems. And I think that some of the tagging, as I said, some of the tagging I think would be pretty tricky. But I agree. I agree it doesn't have to be uniform. And I could select a random index and ask them which one they want, but I'm trying to do it the other way, where the user makes the request, rather than controlling and saying, "Oh, you want to know about characters? Do you want to break this down further?" Or like if they say Rebel Alliance, not every table has that, so now I'd have to have some index that says, like, "Oh, well, if they want to know about the Rebel Alliance, then I'm only really quizzing them on characters, vehicles, or technology, right, or whatever it happens to be." So I'm not saying no. I'm just saying like that becomes harder. But I think for now I'm going to stop. I think this is a good place to pause, and then when we come back on Wednesday, when we come back on Wednesday, we'll finish this thing up and we'll do the answering and the saving and all that stuff. No, you're no problem at all. I'm happy to talk. I blocked this time out till noon. We still have 9 minutes left. And I agree with you. The risk is that that I'll have to say no quiz is available because we just get too granular, which is why I'm trying to keep it high level. The other challenge is if somebody really knows intimate detail, like really, really intimate detail about the Star Wars world, like if you know some random character or ship or something like that, then you probably already know about it. And so why are you asking about it? That's kind of the challenge I have is like if you know some random character from a random place on a random TV show, then you're probably never going to ask me about it because you already know who that person is or what they are. So asking them for them by name is tricky. But I think if I can flip it around and just say, hey, tell me who this character is, and I give them some random facts, that might be fun. And if they don't know, then I'll tell them, like, oh, the person I was describing is Isla Sakura or whoever, somebody you haven't heard of before. So anyway, that is, I think that's the plan for Wednesday. So we'll be back here 10 a.m. on Wednesday, and we'll finish up this task, which is answering the question, letting the user know whether or not they got it right, and ideally having a full working quiz thing. At which point, all I've got left to do is fill in a bunch of data, and we can publish this bad boy. Because I don't think we're too far away from having a good working skill that's ready to go. So thank you guys all for joining. Always a pleasure. It's good to have the conversation. I love the participation you guys have had. Thank you all again so much, and I will talk to you on Wednesday. Bye.